It was a warm Friday evening in the quiet town of Hawthorne, Georgia. Families grilled on porches, kids rode bikes down cracked sidewalks, and 15-year-old Imani Fields had just left her family's small home to pick up a snack from the gas station 5 blocks away. She had her phone, a few dollars, and her house key, her mother, Danielle Fields, recounted later. She said she'd be back in 10 minutes. 10 minutes became 20. Then 40. By the time the clock hit 8:42 p.m., Danielle knew something was wrong. She called her daughter's phone. No answer. She called again. Still nothing. She grabbed her keys and went looking. The streets were quiet. The gas station clerk said Imani had never come in. By 9:30 p.m., Danielle was panicking. She called 911. The dispatcher's tone was flat. Teenagers disappear all the time, ma'am. Give it a few hours. She's probably with friends. She's not like that, Danielle snapped. She doesn't run off. She's responsible. She's 15. But the dispatcher wouldn't budge. That night, Danielle didn't sleep. Neither did Imani's father, Marcus, who drove around for hours, retracing every possible path. The next morning, they went to the police station. The officer at the front desk barely looked up. How long has she been gone? Over 12 hours, Danielle said. We need to file a missing person report. The officer shrugged. Still sounds like a runaway. Danielle felt the heat rising behind her eyes. If she were white, would you already be out there looking for her? The officer frowned but said nothing. The Fields family didn't wait. They made flyers. They knocked on doors. They posted on Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. The community, their community, rallied around them. Church groups helped pass out flyers. Local teens made a hashtag Find Imani. But days passed. No police canvass. No Amber Alert. No press conference. Not even a detective assigned to the case. They treated us like noise, Marcus said. Like we were overreacting. But our baby was gone. Danielle sent emails to news stations. No response. She called again and again. Still nothing. But when Chloe Simmons, a 16-year-old white girl from the nearby town of Eldridge, went missing just 1 week later, the difference was undeniable. Chloe's face was on the 6 o'clock news by nightfall. Billboards. Search dogs. FBI involvement within 48 hours. Danielle watched it all unfold on her cracked TV screen, her fists clenched. My daughter vanished a week ago, she said. And we're still begging them to take her seriously. On day 9, Danielle got a message from a stranger. Her name was Kiara Bell, a 24-year-old nursing student who'd seen Danielle's TikTok. She worked night shifts at a gas station off Highway 6, almost 30 miles away. I think I saw your daughter, Kiara said. I remember the hoodie. Bright purple. With cartoon frogs on it. Danielle's heart pounded. When? 2 nights ago, Kiara said. She looked scared. She wasn't alone. Kiara had tried to pull security footage, but her manager said no. Danielle and Marcus drove there the next morning. Kiara snuck them into the back office. There she was. Imani. Hair in a puff, purple hoodie, looking over her shoulder. And behind her, a tall man, scruffy beard, hoodie pulled low. Imani looked straight into the camera. For a split second, it almost looked like she knew someone would be watching. Danielle choked on a sob. Marcus froze. They took screenshots. Drove straight to the Hawthorne Police Department. The officer on duty barely glanced at the image. Could be anyone. Not enough to act on. 3 days later, the world shifted. A second girl went missing in Eldridge. And this time, everything changed. Detectives were deployed. Federal agents were brought in. TV vans flooded the streets. And then, a shocking detail leaked. Witnesses reported that Chloe Simmons was last seen at a truck stop, near the same highway where Imani was spotted. Suddenly, the pieces clicked. But it was only now, with Chloe missing, that the authorities began to treat it like a real case. Danielle stood in front of a news crew that had finally shown up to her lawn. "You ignored us when it was just my daughter," she said, her voice cracking. "But now that it's one of yours, everyone cares." By the time Brielle Hayes, a 17-year-old Latina girl, went missing, CNN had picked up the story. Now it wasn't just a local tragedy, it was a pattern. 3 missing girls. Same age range. Same region. Same circumstances. Only now, law enforcement began to call it what it really was, a serial predator. But for the Fields family, the sudden surge of attention was salt in an open wound. "You could have stopped this at one," Danielle told a reporter, standing in front of a swarm of flashing cameras. "But you didn't." While the authorities scrambled, the real momentum came from online. A true crime TikToker named @TruthChaserCam, with over 800K followers, stitched Danielle's original video and launched a viral hashtag, #JusticeForImani. Within 24 hours, tips flooded in. One stood out. A user posted a blurry image from a motel parking lot camera 45 minutes north of Hawthorne. It showed a figure matching Imani's description being pushed into a room by the same tall man seen in the gas station video. It wasn't crystal clear, but it was enough. @TruthChaserCam put together a timeline, a possible travel route, and even identified the model of the van caught in the footage. He sent it all to police. But once again, the Hawthorne PD dismissed it. "They said they couldn't verify it," Cam said in a follow-up video. "I'm not a cop. I'm just a guy with an iPhone. But I care more than they ever did." It took Senator Ava Green, a black legislator from Georgia, to make the call that changed everything. She publicly condemned the Hawthorne Police Department for gross negligence and demanded FBI involvement. The Bureau moved fast. They confirmed the van's make, traced its plates, and identified the driver. Raymond Tully, a 38-year-old ex-truck driver with prior arrests for stalking and attempted abduction. He had been released on a technicality 2 years earlier. He was now living out of motels along the I-17 corridor, the same route linking all 3 missing girls. On a rainy Tuesday evening, federal agents and state police surrounded a shabby travel inn outside Norrisville. Room 214. The door was kicked in. Inside, they found Raymond Tully and Brielle, bruised and terrified, but alive. But Imani and Chloe? They weren't there. What they did find was a nightmare. Imani's purple hoodie, stained and torn. Chloe's necklace, broken and hidden beneath the bed. A burner phone with dozens of encrypted messages. And, worst of all, a map with 3 locations circled in red. One was the motel. The other 2. Abandoned buildings deep in the woods. With Tully in custody, interrogators pushed him for answers. He laughed. He asked for a cigarette. He said, "I'm not the only one." But then he whispered, "One's alive. You better hurry." That sent law enforcement into overdrive. They mobilized search teams to the other 2 locations on the map. Location 1, a condemned farmhouse. Empty. Blood traces, but no bodies. Location 2, a burned-down school building. Buried beneath rubble, inside a concealed crawlspace. They found her. Imani Fields. Barely conscious. Dehydrated. Starved. But alive. When Danielle got the call, she collapsed. When Marcus saw her at the hospital, tubes in her arms and eyes barely open, he broke down for the first time in public. "I thought I lost you," he whispered. Imani blinked. A tear rolled down her cheek. But Chloe Simmons, the white girl whose case finally got the media's attention, was still missing. That fact was not lost on anyone. Especially Chloe's family. Her father, Greg Simmons, approached Danielle outside the hospital. "I need you to know," he said, tears in his eyes, "your daughter helped save lives. Including my daughter's, if we can find her." Danielle nodded. "I just wish they listened sooner." With Imani's survival came national outrage. The story exploded on every major network. Protests broke out in front of the Hawthorne Police Department. Danielle gave a powerful statement to Congress, saying, "You ignored us. You told us to wait. You didn't believe a black mother. But we don't need your belief anymore. We need your accountability. The chief of police resigned under pressure. 2 officers were suspended without pay for failure to act on credible tips. The governor launched an internal investigation. And social media didn't let up. When Raymond Tully was found dead in his jail cell, it should have been the end. But instead, it was only the beginning of a deeper nightmare. Etched into the concrete wall behind him were 2 words: not alone. Investigators initially dismissed it as a delusion, the ramblings of a disturbed man. But Imani Fields, now stable and recovering, knew better. There were others, she told the FBI agent, gently holding her hand. I heard voices. I wasn't the only one in that house at first. What kind of voices? He asked. Girls, she whispered. Crying. Then one day, silence. The FBI launched a quiet but urgent investigation into Tully's past, digging deeper into his years on the road. His phone revealed horrifying clues. GPS pings at abandoned properties in 5 states. Images of at least 2 other girls no one could identify. Online chat logs with users using code names like Shepherd, Dealer3, and Vet66. A possible trafficking ring. But what chilled investigators most were the police reports buried in archives. 2 missing black girls in Mississippi, 2018. A Latina teen gone from Texas, 2019. A biracial girl from Louisiana, vanished on a Greyhound trip, 2020. All unsolved. All labeled as runaways. All matching Tully's travel patterns. Every single family had pleaded with police. Every single one had been ignored. Then came the breakthrough, from a burner phone recovered at the Norrisville motel. FBI techs decrypted the data. What they found was horrifying. GPS logs. Dozens of encrypted video files. Conversations with multiple users, arranging pickups, drop-offs, and exchanges. The ring was real. And Tully? He wasn't the mastermind. He was a supplier. Worse, some of the chat logs hinted that law enforcement contacts were involved, offering warnings, tips, and cover. One message read, "Too hot in Georgia. Lay low. Sheriff already took care of Eldridge. Move south." The corruption was bigger than anyone feared. 3 weeks after Tully's death, a tip came from an anonymous online forum. Coordinates. A warning, she's still there. Time's running out. FBI agents raided a defunct trucking depot in rural Florida. Inside, locked in a shipping container with no light, dehydrated and traumatized, they found her. Chloe Simmons, alive. Malnourished, but breathing. Gagged. Chained, but alive. The media went wild. 3 girls found. A trafficking ring exposed. Whistleblowers, agents, and even one sheriff arrested. And all of it could have been stopped years earlier. Danielle Fields was invited to testify before a federal committee on police negligence and systemic racial bias. Standing in a sharp black suit, she spoke not just for Imani, but for every mother who had been silenced. They told me to be patient. They told me my daughter ran away. They told me it wasn't serious. But my daughter was in a predator's hands. And we were screaming into the void. The only reason she is alive is because we refused to be ignored. But not every mother had that chance. Her speech went viral. Millions shared it. Congress passed the Imani Alert Act, mandating equal urgency in all missing children cases, regardless of race or background. It was a win. But it wasn't peace. 6 months later, a memorial was unveiled in Hawthorne. It bore no statues, no politicians. Just a black marble wall with names. Alyssa Green. Nina Ortega. Kiera Thomas. Maria Reyes. Layla Brooks. And dozens more. Names of the missing. The unheard. The ignored. Danielle ran her fingers over each one. They mattered, she whispered. Even when no one listened. The FBI investigation is still ongoing. More arrests are expected. And more names may surface. But for now, the message is clear. Belief can save lives. Silence can kill. So next time a black mother says, "My child is missing," don't ask if she ran away. Ask how fast you can help.